I asked my mom how often she wanted me to call. And she said, don't call. I said, don't call. And she said, if you call, I'll think you're in trouble. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching my video. My name is Jesse. Today I want to talk about travel, about my mother, about getting off the grid, and about living in the present. I hope you'll join me. Let me start with a story. When I was 21, entering my final year at the University of Michigan, my close friend Mark and I went on our first backpack through Europe trip. Eurail Pass, cheap as possible, the whole bit. This was back in the Stone Age, before cell phones and internet and social media and music lessons, apparently. I was going to be gone about 6 weeks, and I asked my mom how often she wanted me to call. And she said, don't call. I said, don't call. And she said, if you call, I'll think you're in trouble. So just go enjoy yourself. Don't call. Have a great trip. So Mark and I left, went to London, took the Channel to Paris, Eurail Pass down to Barcelona. The typical first backpacking trip to Europe. If it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium kind of trip. And it was great. Just a couple very short memories. One was when we were in Barcelona, we met up with these two girls from Quebec. Anyway, we head on to the south of France, and we are eating in this small bistro, and they have the special of the day, which was a roast chicken, and a side dish. You had your choice of French fries or string beans. It was, of course, the cheapest item on the menu, and Mark and the two girls got the roast chicken with the French fries, and I ordered with the green beans. And there was a lot of French blah 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 that I didn't understand, and you know, in broken English, one of the guys says, no string beans. And okay, I got the fries. And when they left, the two girls, oh my God, they had these really angry looks on their face. And we asked, what's going on? And they said, the waiter, you didn't hear him? He was so rude. And it was like, no, I didn't even notice. And first he said, oh, you guys won the lottery today. And then they were sure, and now I'm sure, that they said no string beans because, you know, French fries are easy, French fries are cheap. Green beans might be a little more expensive, and certainly you have to make them. So they just pretended like they were out. And like I said, I hadn't understood, Mark hadn't understood. And at that point, if it was just the two of us, Mark and I, we would have said, that was a great experience. We had wonderful chicken and fries. We love France. And then the second memory, this was a couple days later. The girls had gone on to, I think, Aix-en-Provence, and we were still on the Eurail route on our way to Nice. And we found this hotel next to the train station. It was actually called the hotel train station in French. And all night long, oh my God, this was just like the biggest mistake. It was like rattle, 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 rattle. It was like the train rolled by every 5 minutes, it seemed. We couldn't get to sleep at all night long. And it wasn't until the next morning, let me try this again. And it wasn't until the next morning that we saw that our windows had these heavy shutters that I suppose would have knocked out, 80% of the noise. To be young and stupid. A day or two later, we arrived in Nice in the south of France, and this is where Mark and I split up. We had planned this before we left the United States. Mark would just bop around the beach, enjoy the sunshine, and I would go off to Germany, where my then girlfriend was studying in a summer program. And so I went up to Germany, into Munich, and our plan was to reunite, Mark and I, was to meet up in Florence a week later. So I went up to Germany, had a great brief meetup with my girlfriend, headed back on the train through Switzerland down to Italy, and suddenly Italy had a train strike. At that time, and maybe nowadays, they apparently have train strikes all the time, but it wasn't helpful to me. I couldn't get to Florence at our appointed time. I couldn't meet Mark in front of the doors of the Duomo in Florence at our appointed time, and that was it. To be young and stupid and in Europe by myself. Remember, this was a time with no internet, no social media, no smartphones. Yeah, so I just, I continued on in Italy as a solo traveler. About 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever it was, Mark and I met up at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris and flew back home. Mark could take care of himself. I could take care of myself. It was just one of those unfortunate things. But Mark was so mad at me, and he was calling me, all these names like, "You moron." And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, "Didn't you get my messages?" The first thing he did after not seeing me there was that he went to the phone booth, got on the phone, called my mom, and said, "Has Jesse called?" Long story short, I never thought of that. Mark had called my mom back in Los Angeles 2 more times. And, by then, he and my mom were having all these conversations about how stupid her son was. Why wasn't he calling? That story just popped into my head this week. A lot of stories about my mom have been rushing in. My mom died a little over a week ago. She was 90 years old, and I had just seen her about a month ago. Even though she was, of a certain age, I had no clue. I had no clue that I was expecting her to live on for another 10 years. She was just sharp as a tack. We had celebrated her 90th birthday, and she was the belle of the ball, telling stories and criticizing us when anybody interrupted. Yeah, she was great. And I want to say that I feel so fortunate, so lucky to have seen her so recently. I mean, I hadn't seen her before last month in nearly 2 years. And so, yeah, I was so fortunate to have gotten to see her. And like I say, she was sharp and alive. Well, I mean alive. She was sharp. She was chatty. She was Yeah, she looked like she would go on living for another 10 years. To my naive self, I guess. And now, I just wish I had the chance to give her a call. I guess that's what I wanted to say in this video. And now, go call your mom. I'll catch you guys next time.